Good morning friends. Today I am going to talk about bones and joints. This here is a model of a hinge joint. I borrowed it from my father, who borrowed it from his friend who is an orthopedician or a doctor of bones. Speaking of bones, let's talk about them. Bones are hard structures which make up the skeletal system. This skeletal system, as you all must already know, makes and gives shape to our body. Two or more bones join or create a pattern to create a structure. Many different structures in our body protect different vital internal organs. Some examples are when 12 ribs and the sternum make the rib cage. The rib cage protects our lungs and our heart. Another example is when all the bones in our head join to create the skull, which protects our brain. Bones, however, can break or crack. Such a case is called a fracture. In a fracture, the broken bone should be restricted to minimum movement and the patient should be immediately taken to a doctor. Joints. When two or more bones meet, they form a joint. Mainly, there are four types of joint in our body. Number 1. Hinge joint. A hinge joint allows movement in only one direction, as you can see here. This here is a model of the knee joint. The upper bone is the femur, the lower bone is the tibia. These connecting structures that you can see are the ligaments and the tendons. The greyish part where you can see is the cartilage, which allows the bones to move without roughing themselves. A hinge joint commonly found in our elbows and in our knees. Ball and socket joint. In a ball and socket joint, one bone has a hollow end and another bone has a rounded end. The bone with the rounded end fits into the hollow space of the other bone. This allows movement in all directions. Common examples are the hips and our shoulders. As you can see, I am able to move my arm in all directions. This type of movement is allowed by the ball and socket joint. Pivot joint. A pivot joint has a bone which rotates in a ring. Our entire body has only one pivot joint. Can you believe that? It is located in our neck. It allows movement in up, down, left and right directions. Fixed joint. Fixed joints are usually found in our head. The skull is made up of entirely fixed joints. The only movable joint in our head is the lower bone. The rest from the upper jawbone and the rest of the head is a fixed joint. Now I am going to talk about bones and related diseases. First up, osteoporosis. First of all, I would like to tell you that in our body there are two types of cells, the osteoblasts and the osteoclasts. The osteoblasts deposit calcium into our bones. The osteoclasts withdraw the calcium for body consumption. In osteoporosis, the number of osteoclasts is highly increased than the number of osteoblasts. So, as you have already figured, osteoblasts deposition falls short and the osteoclasts take more than what is replaced. This disease is commonly found in old people. In children, the number of osteoblasts and osteoclasts is the same. A correct way to prevent osteoporosis from happening is to eat green leafy vegetables and to do daily exercise. Another disease is osteopetrosis. In osteoporosis, there was a highly increased number of osteoclasts. In osteopetrosis, there is a high number of osteoblasts. Therefore, there is a higher deposition than withdrawal. In this case, the bones become very hard from the excess calcium deposition. This also leads to spontaneous fractures or the fractures that happen without even you knowing it. The next and the last disease for today is the deficiency of vitamin D3. The running engine of vitamin D is vitamin D3. The body produces vitamin D3 when it is given direct exposure to sunlight. However, people living in large cities like Delhi, Mumbai and Chennai get very little exposure to sunlight from staying in offices and their homes all day long. In this, there is a higher case of deficiency of vitamin D3 in cities than in rural areas. In recent cases, deficiency of vitamin D3 has been linked to intestinal diseases and heart attacks. To prevent deficiency of vitamin D3 in our body, we should regularly go out in parks or other public spaces which are located outdoors so that we get a healthy exposure and this disease does not affect us. I hope you learned a lot more about our skeletal system and the diseases which can commonly come, but you can prevent them. I thank you for joining me.